podium with Judge Miller and with these distinguished Hoosiers, distinguished Americans, and I hope you will take the Lieutenant Commander Retired's admonition and give a word of encouragement to all the veterans who are here. And I want to ask for a round of applause for our county chairman who knows it is Dingus Day today, but it's always Veterans Day in Indiana. And Deb, thank you. Thank you for making this special. Thank you for seizing on an opportunity for some fellowship and some fun here in South Bend, Indiana today in St. Joe County, but to be able to make one small additional deposit in the debt of gratitude that we owe the men and women who've worn the uniform, and particularly as they're manifested today, members vets. I am delighted to be here for my second in a row Dingus Day at the world capital of Dingus Day, South Bend and St. Joe County. I'm embarrassed to say I've been in town for about 15 minutes and I haven't had a Polish sausage yet. But I expect to have more than a few before I leave town. And if you see a very attractive brunette come spiriting in before the festivities here are over, Mrs. Pence is gathering in behind me because she heard so much about Dingus Day last year. And the time that we had up here, she said, I have to join you for that. And so we're looking forward to being around town this afternoon and really celebrating a great tradition. We're celebrating our veterans today. But we also know that it's altogether fitting to be here celebrating Dingus Day at the Republican headquarters in St. Joe County. I want to commend all of the Republican leaderships here. I see Mayor Dave Wood from Mishawaka is nearby. Dave, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming into town. And to really recognize that while the other party for more than half a century has done Dingus Day more right than others, Republicans here in St. Joe County in recent years have begun to recognize that Dingus Day belongs to everybody. And we're celebrating the rich cultural and ethnic heritage of this region and doing it across party lines. And I'm just very, very grateful to be a small part of it today. And I also want to acknowledge he came in very quietly. He usually doesn't draw much attention to himself. Today's no difference. But the Attorney General of the state of Indiana, a man who labors on behalf of Hoosiers' rights all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, recently re-elected, Greg Zeller. Greg, would you mind coming up? You can get on your feet and give him a warm round of applause. He is a great public servant. Nowhere without my lawyer. Stay right up here. Say a word or two.
Well, I was the token Republican over at the other club. It's not to be mentioned here. So that the junior senator from the state of Indiana invited me. So he asked me to come so that they would have at least one Republican. Everybody needs one, even at the West Side Club. I started to give them a little speech about Lincoln, and they cut me off. So I come here where they'd enjoy the Lincoln speech. And it's always a pleasure to be in St. Joe County. Madam Chairman, always a pleasure. Members of the military, and my favorite governor, my favorite client. Give it up again for our governor.
Thank you, Greg, and please take a seat here. I'm feeling very chatty. Actually, favorite governor and favorite client. It is wonderful to be here and to really celebrate Dingus Day and to remember our veterans. But let me say why this has already become a very special occasion for me, and that is because and this is being celebrated in different places around the country. There are other communities that claim to be the world capital of Dingus Day. As I said earlier, we know better. St. Joe County is it. But there's celebrations going on in Elkhart. There's celebrations going on at Rose Holman today. There's celebrations going on in Bloomington, Indiana. And what we're celebrating is something that's near and dear to my heart, because while my heritage is not Polish, my lineage in this country is still fairly recent. And I see Dingus Day as one of those great moments where we are not just celebrating Polish cultural heritage, but we're really celebrating family. We're celebrating the rich traditions of a community. And having been born and raised in a big Irish Catholic family myself, my grandfather actually came over to this country when he was about 18 years of age. He grew up in a little two-room house in northwestern Ireland, and as the story of our family goes, when he was about 17 years of age, my great-grandmother walked him up the hill just across the street from their house. It's a hill where I've stood. The year after my father would pass away, in my 22nd year, I went ahead and went to Ireland, and I went to all the sites he and I were supposed to go to together. I stood on that hill and I looked to the west, and you can see the Ox Mountains in Northern Ireland, and I could just imagine that moment that I've been told about so many times in our family, where my grandfather, apparently a young man who loved his mother and loved his home, and he asked his mother, why do I have to go? She'd saved up to buy him a one-way ticket to follow a brother and a sister to America. And she apparently looked him in the eye and said, because there's a future there for you. And he went, and he got on a boat. And like so many of you and your families and your heritage, and heritage that we really celebrate on Dingus Day today, he had the courage to come to this land of the free, this home of the brave. And my great-grandmother was right. There was a future there. And he would take the train to Chicago, Illinois. He would raise my mother and her sister and two brothers on the south side of Chicago. They would be White Sox fans, as my father was, who grew up on the south side of Chicago. And I grew up, while I came into this world in a small town in southern Indiana, I was really raised by people who were steeped in the ethnic and cultural traditions of the larger Chicagoland area. And so Dingus Day for me is a place that feels very much at home. And it's not just a day where we will eat a lot of sausage and we will drink beer. Am I right about that? Is there anything else on the menu? And we'll remember lots of good times through the course of the day that starts very early on Dingus Day. But also, I can't help but believe and know in my heart of hearts that what makes this Easter Monday so special is it gives the families of this community an opportunity to reflect one day a year in particular on the importance of heritage. And not just the Polish families in this community, but all the families of this community that understand that at the end of the day there is always more that unites us than divides us. And when it comes to our faith, when it comes to our family, when it comes to community, when it comes to patriotism, we are all Americans. And we celebrate a day like today as a day when we celebrate our shared American heritage. And that's what today really is all about. So with that, thank you on behalf of the Attorney General and other folks who are here. Thank you for coming out. I'm looking forward to some good fellowship, and we do want to encourage you very much to know that the proceeds from today and any excess contributions that should occur today will go to Miller's Vets, and will go to support those who at a critical time in their lives, like so many who are gathered in this room today, step forward and put on the uniform. And we remember them today, because as we celebrate our heritage, as we celebrate families, we celebrate community, we do it all under the umbrella of those who have sacrificed to give us the freedom to give that celebration of life. And so to Judge Bob Miller, to Miller's Vets, to our good county chairman, Deb Fleming, on behalf of me and my family, and my wife will be trailing along momentarily, happy Dingus Day 2013. See you same time next year.